The year is 2031. A terrifying pandemic, known as crimson rot, has swept across the globe. Originating in the overcrowded slums of Mumbai, this mutated strain of the bubonic plague emerged from a biowaste processing facility. The virus, transmitted through airborne particles and bodily fluids, spreads with horrifying speed, claiming millions of lives daily. Initial symptoms include fever and agonizing bone pain, rapidly progressing to grotesque skin lesions and disfigurement. The infected don't simply suffer. They transform, driven to madness and violent outbursts, snarling, biting, scratching, and spitting in a frantic attempt to spread the contagion. Their bodies are racked with such intense contortions that bones break, tearing through their rotting flesh before death finally claims them. Scientists are desperately racing to find a cure, but the disease mutates faster than they can respond. The threads of society are quickly unraveling as fear and despair paralyze the population, and violent disorder erupts in cities worldwide. In a state of distress, governments are issuing desperate requests for help, and emergency broadcasts flood the airwaves in a desperate attempt to restore order and pull humanity back from the abyss.
This is an official emergency broadcast from the United States federal government. Your attention is required. Please listen carefully. The continued spread of the crimson rot pandemic constitutes a critical threat to national security and the lives of all American citizens. The mandatory stay-at-home law remains in full effect nationwide. Any individual found outdoors without explicit authorization puts themselves in immediate and extreme danger. We repeat, any individual outdoors without explicit authorization is in immediate and extreme danger. It is essential to understand the nature of the crimson rot virus and the threat it poses. Those infected with the crimson rot virus display a distinctive and extremely dangerous behavioral shift. They exhibit violent, aggressive actions directed towards uninfected individuals. This behavior is instinctual, driven by the virus's manipulation of their neurological systems. The infected do not possess any capacity for rational thought or reason. They cannot be reasoned with or pacified. Their sole objective is to attack and spread the virus to other individuals. The infected typically engage in group attacks and, in the early stages of their condition, show a considerable increase in both physical strength and agility. These enhanced traits make it exceedingly difficult for individuals to escape an encounter with them. Those who find themselves targeted by the infected face a statistically low chance of survival. Therefore, adherence to the stay-at-home law is not merely recommended, it is absolutely crucial for your survival. You must remain indoors. Secure all entrances and windows and minimize your contact with the outside world for the duration of the state of emergency. Failure to do so is a profound risk to your own personal safety. Furthermore, it is critical you understand the severity of the measures being taken to combat this pandemic. Military and authorized law enforcement personnel have been granted the authority to use lethal force against any individual displaying symptoms of the crimson rot virus. This is a strict shoot-to-kill policy enacted by the United States federal government in its attempt to contain the spread of crimson rot. If you are found outdoors and mistakenly identified as infected and are subsequently fatally wounded by authorized personnel, this will be considered entirely an outcome of your own negligence. You have been duly warned. You will bear the full responsibility of your exposure for being outdoors. Authorized personnel executing the shoot-to-kill order will not face any legal repercussions for their actions in the line of duty. It is imperative that we take no risks in managing the containment of this virus. The guidelines for the application of lethal measures have been explicitly outlined. Given the significant threat this virus poses to our nation, there can be no room for leniency. Thank you for your attention. This is a national emergency broadcast. This message is being transmitted across all broadcast frequencies. Please remain calm and listen carefully. We understand that this is a profoundly unsettling time. The ongoing Crimson Rot pandemic presents an unprecedented challenge to our nation and to the world. We are acutely aware of the fear, uncertainty, and grief that many of you are experiencing. We acknowledge the profound loss so many have endured as families and communities fracture. The United States government share in this pain. The administration itself grieves for those we have also lost to this horrific disease. However, the most crucial thing you can do at this moment is to remain calm. Panic is counterproductive. It breeds chaos, hinders progress, and amplifies the very dangers we are striving to overcome. The United States government, in close collaboration with its international partners, is actively engaged in a comprehensive, multifaceted response to this crisis. Every resource at our disposal is being mobilized, our men and women in uniform. Our medical professionals, our scientists, and our civil servants are working tirelessly to bring this situation under control. The most brilliant minds across the globe are dedicating themselves to the urgent task of developing a vaccine and effective treatments. They are working at an unprecedented pace, exploring every viable avenue to combat the disease. We must have faith in their expertise. This is not an easy task, yet we are confident that the solution is within our grasp. Until that moment arrives, we must all exercise extreme discipline and patience. We acknowledge the significant responsibility this imposes on all of you. However, your adherence to these measures will ultimately contribute to saving lives. We must maintain order and work together to navigate this crisis. Engaging in senseless violence, looting, and rioting will not help. Such actions undermine the efforts to contain the disease and further jeopardize the safety and well-being of everyone. Any person or collective engaged in these harmful practices will be apprehended. They will be subject to an extensive investigation, and prosecution will be carried out to the utmost limits of the law. Please be advised that during this period of national emergency, any person or group found to be deliberately undermining our containment and recovery efforts, through the spread of misinformation, the hoarding of vital resources, or any actions that obstruct our collective response, will be subject to prosecution for crimes against the state. Such actions pose a significant risk to public safety and may be treated as acts of terrorism. The repercussions for these offenses can be extremely serious, including the possibility of the death penalty. We understand the deep-seated fear and anger that many are feeling at this moment. However, it is essential that this sentiment is directed towards the true threat, the Crimson Rot, rather than against one another. The government is fully committed to utilizing all resources to regain control over the virus. We are in this together, and we will emerge from this crisis together. The strength of the American spirit is its capacity to endure through the most challenging times. Please remain vigilant, calm, and above all, united. This is a national emergency broadcast. Stay informed through official channels and remain calm as more updates will be forthcoming. This is an emergency alert system broadcast. This message is being transmitted across all broadcast frequencies and communication networks. This is a mandatory announcement. Your immediate attention is required. As you are all now aware, a mandatory nationwide stay-at-home order is in effect, dictated by legal requirement under the National Health and Security Act. This order is not a suggestion. It is the law. The purpose of this order is to contain and eradicate the rapidly spreading contagion of the Crimson Rot virus. To ensure your safety and the safety of your community, you are required to remain indoors at all times. While inside your residences, it is imperative that you wear a protective face mask at all times. This will reduce the potential for airborne transmission within your home. Please ensure your mask is properly fitted and covers both your nose and mouth. It is crucial to reiterate that anyone who is outside their residence without explicit authorization is in direct violation of federal law. The only individuals permitted to be outside during this time are law enforcement personnel, emergency medical services personnel, military personnel, and other authorized individuals who play a vital role in managing this national emergency. All other individuals are to remain indoors. The seriousness of the Crimson Rot virus demands strict adherence to this order. Those currently outside without legal authorization are not only putting their own lives at risk, but also jeopardizing the health and safety of countless others. Let us be unequivocally clear. Military personnel and law enforcement officers have been authorized to use lethal force against any individual or individuals exhibiting symptoms consistent with the Crimson Rot virus. This measure is not taken lightly. It is a grave and regrettable necessity, but it is absolutely crucial for the containment of this lethal outbreak. The Crimson Rot virus is highly contagious and, if contracted, will be fatal. If you are currently outside your residence, return home immediately. Failure to comply risks not only your life, but the lives of your loved ones and your community. We will not tolerate any individual knowingly or deliberately jeopardizing public health during this crisis. The consequences of such actions could be fatal. The situation is dire and rapidly changing. This national mandate is not subject to debate or personal interpretation. Further updates and instructions will be provided at regular intervals. Monitor your local news broadcast and official government channels. Please stay informed, stay vigilant, and above all, stay indoors. This is an official emergency alert system broadcast from the United States government. We are facing an unprecedented threat, and it is imperative that every citizen understands the gravity of the situation. We are currently engaged in a desperate battle against the Crimson Rot virus, a pandemic that has tested the limits of our nation's strength and resilience. We are all struggling with the fear, uncertainty, and personal loss that this terrible illness has brought into our lives. Our hearts go out to everyone affected, and we understand the pain you are enduring. The government is working tirelessly, employing every resource, every measure to combat this virus, to develop treatments, and to ultimately ensure the safety and well-being of all our citizens. However, while we fight this invisible enemy, another equally dangerous threat has emerged from within our very own borders. There are individuals, groups, and illegal terrorist militias who are attempting to exploit the suffering and chaos brought about by the Crimson Rot. They are not concerned with the welfare of our nation. They do not care about your well-being or the well-being of your family. They are opportunists, seeing this moment of national hardship as a chance to seize power, spread discord, and overthrow the institutions that protect us. They are engaged in a dangerous and destructive campaign of violence. They spread lies and absurd conspiracy theories designed to fuel their twisted agenda and manipulate others into joining their cause. These people are traitors to the United States of America. Let there be no ambiguity on this point. This government will not surrender to violent agitators. We will not allow them to triumph. We are engaged in a war not only against the Crimson Rot virus, but also against those who seek to disrupt and destabilize our nation for their own gain. These individuals who propagate discord and engage in acts of violence will attempt to persuade you that your very own government, in collaboration with other global authorities, is responsible for the emergence and dissemination of the Crimson Rot virus. Such assertions are categorically untrue, but these are desperate and unfounded claims, spread by those intent on fostering chaos and mistrust. There exists no evidence or credibility to substantiate these absurd theories. In reality, the United States government is committed to doing everything possible to safeguard you and your loved ones. Since the onset of this pandemic, we have been tirelessly working, utilizing every resource available to protect the American populace. This administration, along with all of us in government, has endured significant hardships throughout this crisis. Like many of you, we have experienced the loss of loved ones, family, and friends. We share in the profound grief and sorrow felt by every American. Therefore, the allegations suggesting that we bear responsibility or harbor ulterior motives are profoundly hurtful. Such claims disrespect the tireless efforts of healthcare professionals, first responders, and civil servants who have committed themselves to combating this virus. To assert that we are to blame, despite our considerable sacrifices in this fight, is simply unacceptable. Those who propagate these falsehoods and resort to violence and intimidation do not embody the spirit of patriotism. Instead, they act out of cowardice, exploiting fear and uncertainty to sow discord at a time when solidarity is crucial. Their actions threaten to undermine the very foundations of our society and democratic principles. They are betraying this great nation, and we will ensure they are held accountable for their deeds and brought to justice. The United States military is dedicated to safeguarding our nation from all threats, both foreign and domestic. We will not accept the actions of violent militias and are prepared to employ all necessary measures to ensure their defeat and the failure of their malicious agenda. Our commitment to justice will not waver until these individuals are held accountable and the peace and stability of our country are restored. It is essential that we come together, united against this dual threat. We must resist the temptation to be divided by fear and reject unfounded conspiracy theories and calls for violence. This is a moment for solidarity, rationality, and confidence in our established institutions, as well as in those who are diligently working to ensure your safety. If you suspect or are aware of anyone involved in these violent activities, it is imperative to report them without delay. While this may be a challenging decision, potentially involving friends, neighbors, or even family, it is vital for overcoming this threat. If you value your country, community, and loved ones, take action. Report them to the appropriate authorities so that the law can address the situation. We must not allow treason and violence to compromise the integrity of our great nation. We will persevere through these challenges. Together, we will conquer the Crimson Rot virus and address the internal threats we face. United, we will emerge more resilient and cohesive than ever. Stay alert, remain strong, and contribute to the protection of our nation. Thank you. This is a broadcast from the emergency alert system. Please remain on standby for an important message from the President of the United States. We repeat, remain on standby for a message from the President of the United States. This is a broadcast from the emergency alert system. Please remain on standby for an important message from the President of the United States. We repeat, remain on standby for a message from the President of the United States.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. In these dark times, crazy times, our condolences go out to all of you who have lost loved ones from this horrible disease, which has claimed over 1 billion lives now around the world. That's 1 in 8 people. It's so sad. And of course, it began in Mumbai, which is no surprise. I've been there. It's a dump, an absolute dump. And we are now all suffering the consequences of that. The Indian government has a lot to answer for. But I want to assure you that we are combating this virus better than any other country in the world. We are making progress on developing a vaccine faster than any other country under my leadership. And we will develop a vaccine. We've got the best brains in the world working on this, including mine. But I know this is a frightening time for everyone. We've never seen anything like the crimson rot. The speed at which it spreads and mutates, and the horrifying effect it has on the individual. I've seen it for myself. We've lost many, too many, from our administration. It breaks my heart. So those liars, those fake news idiots, and let's face it, they're probably Democrats who spread malicious rumors about the administration having some part to play in the spread of the virus. Get a life, seriously. Get a life. It's pathetic. It really is. We have suffered just like everybody else. And so to say those things is disgustingly disrespectful. You ought to be ashamed, absolutely ashamed. This administration is doing everything, and I mean everything, to get us through this, and we will. Those who have tried to exploit this situation by violent means for their own selfish agenda, listen, you're not heroes, you're not patriots, you're a bunch of opportunistic cowards, and we will crush you. For those of you who are doing the right thing, we applaud you, we thank you, we need you. We need you to be stronger now than ever before. The human race is on the brink of extinction. That is not an overstatement. This is a fight for humanity's very survival. So we need to keep doing the right thing. Do not give this horrible virus a chance to spread. The crimson rot is the real deal, not like that phony virus we had a few years ago. This is a killer. It's got a 99.9% kill rate. If you get it, you're done. We cannot help you. So don't get it. Isolate. Follow the measures that we have in place to stop the spread. It's a very small sacrifice to make. And it's the law. If you go out, you risk being shot. And if not shot, being set upon by the infected. They will rip you limb from limb. It won't be pretty. Not pretty at all. It'll be a mess. Do the responsible thing. It's a very small sacrifice to make. And remember, it is only temporary. For how long, we don't know yet. But once a vaccine is developed, better days will follow. So until then, follow the guidelines. Don't be the one responsible for spreading this horrible virus. Think of your loved ones, think of your children, think of your country. We are going to win this war, I have no doubt about that. We will defeat the crimson rot. We will defeat the traitors, the cowards. You want war? Yeah? Well, congratulations. You've got it. Now we are going to crush you, absolutely decimate you. It's going to be beautiful, just beautiful. You are a virus, just like the Crimson Rot, and we are going to eradicate both of you simultaneously. I promise you that. America, stay strong. We've faced adversity many times before and won, and we will do it again. This is the biggest test yet. The world has never seen anything like the Crimson Rot. It's terrifying, but have faith in your resilience, have faith in your leadership, have faith in me. That's why you elected me. Right? You know, I get things done. I get results. And that's the great thing about me. So for now, keep doing the right thing. We are going to beat this. Thank you. Stay vigilant, stay safe, stay united, and may God bless America.
This is an official emergency alert system broadcast. National authorities have issued a nationwide directive regarding the rapidly spreading Crimson Rot virus. Your immediate attention is required. Please listen carefully. It has become necessary to implement aggressive containment measures to mitigate the virus's devastating effects on our population. The key to our success resides in early detection. Therefore, we are requiring all citizens to actively monitor one another for signs of infection. If you observe or even suspect that an individual exhibits any of the symptoms of the Crimson Rot virus, you must report them immediately. Reports are to be filed through the official government website, www.crimsonrotreporting.com. Follow the detailed instructions provided on the site to ensure your report is recorded accurately. Time is of the essence. The earlier a suspected case is reported, the greater our ability to protect our communities. Early symptoms of the Crimson Rot virus include, but are not limited to, a high fever, often accompanied by chills, intense and persistent bone pain, described as a deep ache emanating from within the skeletal structure, the appearance of distinctive, red lesions across the body. These lesions may be raised, painful to the touch, and can spread rapidly. Other early symptoms can include a rapidly escalating fatigue and an unusual sensitivity to light. If you observe any combination of these symptoms in yourself or another person, immediately initiate a report. Do not hesitate. Do not wait. It is critical to understand the progression of this illness. As the Crimson Rot virus advances, infected individuals undergo a severe and terrifying transformation. They develop aggressive and unpredictable behavioral patterns. Their ability to reason and control their actions diminishes. They become driven by an overwhelming and uncontrollable urge to attack others, further propagating the virus. This is not a choice. It is a tragic consequence of the disease's progression. We understand that reporting a friend, a family member, or a loved one may be the most difficult thing you were ever asked to do. It is a decision that will weigh heavily on your conscience. Please understand that reporting a loved one is not an act of betrayal, but an act of necessary sacrifice for your own health and that of others. The containment of this virus and the preservation of our society depend on your cooperation. We currently possess no known vaccine or cure for the Crimson Rot virus. Unfortunately, once a positive diagnosis is confirmed, the disease progresses rapidly and mercilessly. The individuals suffering from the Crimson Rot virus endure immeasurable pain. They experience a suffering that is beyond the scope of human understanding. In the later stages of the disease, the body undergoes violent and grotesque contortions. Bones violently fracture, puncturing the skin and causing horrific fatal injuries. The death associated with crimson rot virus is excruciating, inhumane, and agonizing. It is a demise that is beyond anything we can imagine. This is why reporting them is vital. We may not be able to cure them, but we can prevent further spreading of the disease. We can also end their suffering in a manner that is both dignified and respectful. Any individual who tests positive for the crimson rot virus will be transported to a designated state euthanasia center. There, they will be provided with end-of-life care and humanely euthanized. These procedures will be carried out in a dignified and compassionate manner, with the utmost respect and care afforded to all individuals involved. Following euthanasia, remains will be promptly cremated. All financial burdens associated with the transportation, treatment, and cremation are to be covered by the state, at no cost to our citizens. To report a neighbor, a friend, a family member, or even a loved one may be difficult, but it is not betrayal. It is an act of mercy, an act of profound compassion, and the most loving, caring, and considerate thing you can possibly do in their final, painful weeks. Remember, your decision to report a suspected case can save lives. Your decision to report a loved one will be ending their suffering while protecting you, your community, and all of humanity. Do not hesitate. Report suspected cases immediately. Your cooperation is essential. This is a nationwide emergency alert. Please listen carefully. The information that follows is critical to your safety and the safety of your community. Evidence from multiple sources indicates that millions of cases of crimson rot in humans have been directly linked to bites and scratches from infected household pets. The virus is able to replicate within animals, often with devastating consequences. This means your beloved family pet, regardless of breed, age, or apparent health, could be a potential vector for the disease. The symptoms of crimson rot in animals closely mirror those in humans, albeit with some variations. While humans experience obvious symptoms like extreme aggression, erratic behavior, confusion, and uncontrollable twitching, the early indicators in animals can be more subtle and easily mistaken for normal behavioral changes. However, you may notice changes in your pet's behavior such as increased irritability, restlessness, or unusual vocalizations. They might appear disoriented, clumsy, or extremely distressed. It's crucial to note that even the smallest changes in your pet's behavior could be a sign of infection. The progression of the virus in animals is rapid and, just like in humans, leads to increased aggression, a loss of mental coherence, and uncontrollable physical spasms. This stage of the illness is extremely dangerous, both for the animal and for anyone who comes into contact with it. Therefore, if you suspect your pet is exhibiting even the slightest symptoms of crimson rot, it is absolutely imperative that you euthanize the animal as quickly and humanely as possible. The optimal time to do this is in the early stages of infection, before the animal becomes agitated and poses a considerable threat to you and your family members. Waiting for further deterioration will not only make the euthanization process more difficult, but will also place both you and your family at greater risk. We understand that this is an emotionally difficult and potentially distressing task. To assist you, we have established a dedicated government website, www.crimsonrotreporting.com. Here you will find detailed instructions on a variety of options available to you. One option is to request the assistance of a trained professional. Through this website, you can submit a request, and a qualified individual trained in the safe and humane euthanization of animals will be dispatched to your location as soon as possible. They will safely euthanize the animal and dispose of the remains in a responsible and dignified manner, minimizing the risk of further spread of the virus. However, if you choose to euthanize the animal yourself, you must adhere to the following guidelines with strict care to protect yourself and others. Under no circumstances should you cause any blood spillage during the euthanization process. Crimson rot is easily transmitted through infected bodily fluids, and blood spillage carries a substantial risk of further contagion. Please carefully consider the following methods and choose the option with which you feel most comfortable. Method 1. Carbon dioxide asphyxiation. If you have access to a carbon dioxide source, you can use this method within an enclosed space. Ensure that the chamber or container used is airtight and that the levels of carbon dioxide are sufficient to rapidly render the animal unconscious before ending its life. Method 2. Controlled overdose of oral sedative. Obtain a strong sedative specifically approved for animals. It's essential to use the correct dosage to ensure that the animal's death is as peaceful and painless as possible. This method will not cause any blood spillage. Method 3. Heavy object impact. This is the least recommended method due to its higher risk of blood spillage, even when performed skillfully. If you must use an implement such as a heavy object, use it in a way that will ensure the animal is killed instantly with one swift blow, ensuring no blood leakage. This is only to be used as a last resort. We strongly recommend you request professional assistance if you cannot access a more humane approach. Regardless of the method, you must wear personal protective equipment. This includes a well-fitted face mask to prevent aerosolized viral particles from entering your respiratory system, and rubber gloves to avoid direct contact with the animal's saliva and other fluids. It's also advised to wear clothing that can be safely burned or properly disposed of after the procedure. After the animal has been euthanized, the remains must be dealt with immediately and with great care. Cremation is the preferred method of disposal. If you have a safe and controlled way to cremate the remains, this is the most reliable method to neutralize the threat of the virus. If you do not have access to a proper means of cremation, please contact our trained personnel, who will then be able to dispose of the infected remains safely. Under no circumstance should you bury the remains, as the virus can persist in the decomposing body and further contaminate the environment. Leakage of the crimson rot virus from decomposing remains is an extreme threat to public health. Therefore, it is imperative that they are dealt with using the correct protocol. We know that these are difficult times, and this task is an emotionally complicated one, but the safety of you, your family, and your community depends on the cooperation and decisive action of everyone. We remind you that it is imperative you do not prolong the suffering of your much-loved animals. Death caused by crimson rot is a cruel and excruciating experience. Please do the right thing and ensure that the suffering ends as swiftly as possible. Your government is dedicated to providing you with the resources and support that you need during this crisis. Let us all work together to end the suffering, save lives, and eradicate this dreadful virus. Thank you for your attention. Attention citizens of the United States. This is an official emergency broadcast from the Federal Emergency Management Agency. Designated alert level maximum. This broadcast concerns the ongoing public health crisis, the rapid spread of the crimson rot virus. Current projections indicate exponential growth in the number of infected individuals. These individuals, referred to as carriers, exhibit extreme behavioral changes. Crucially, and this is paramount, carriers demonstrate a singular, relentless drive to spread the crimson rot virus. This drive overrides all other instincts and manifests as a violent, predatory pursuit of uninfected individuals. Therefore, your immediate priority is the complete and absolute securing of your homes. We repeat, secure your homes immediately. The following are not suggestions, but mandates for your safety. Disregard at your own peril. Entry points. Doors and windows are primary targets. Verify all locks are engaged. Reinforce doors with additional bracing if available. Improvise. Use furniture, boards, anything that will create a significant physical barrier. Windows should be boarded from the interior with plywood, heavy books, or any substantial material that will prevent access. Remember, carriers are operating with a heightened state of aggression and exhibit elevated strength. Be prepared for repeated and potentially forceful entry attempts. Vulnerability points. Consider unconventional access points. Basement windows, vents, and even chimneys can be exploited. Reinforce these areas with wire mesh, metal sheets, or anything that will slow or deter an intrusion. Any opening, no matter how small, should be assessed and addressed. Exterior environment. Clear your immediate surroundings of objects that can be used by carriers to gain access or break windows. Remove ladders, tools, garbage cans, and anything that could be weaponized or used as a climbing aid. Internal security. Designate an internal safe room. This room should be the most secure location within your home, and ensure you have a supply of essential items. Non-perishable food, water, a first aid kit, and if possible, a means of self-defense. Communication. If possible, attempt to establish communication with neighbors who are believed to be uninfected. Use visual signals, loud verbal cues from secure locations, or, if available, a handheld radio. However, exercise extreme caution. Verification of uninfected status is critical. Assume anyone not immediately recognized as a safe contact is infected and a potential threat. Defensive measures. If forced to confront a carrier, understand that they are not acting rationally. They are driven by the viral imperative. Self-defense may be necessary. Use any implement available to create a separation between yourself and the infected. This does not mean engage in unnecessary confrontations. Prioritize evasion and retreat at all times, if possible. Minimize skin exposure. Clothing should be treated as potentially contaminated and changed regularly. Resource management, ration supplies. This crisis may continue for an extended period. Non-perishable food, water, and essential medical items should be meticulously managed. Do not open your door. This is a critical directive. Under no circumstances should you open your door for anyone. Not your friends, not family members, not even if they plead for help. The risk of infection is too great. Reassess social bonds. There is no social good if you are infected. If a loved one is infected, they are no longer the person you knew and are a lethal threat. The crimson rot virus is not a conventional illness. It is a force driving human beings to acts of extreme aggression with the sole objective of propagating the infection. The current state of containment is tenuous at best. The survival of the uninfected population requires steadfast adherence to these directives. Further updates and specific instructions will be broadcast as the situation dictates. For the moment, secure your homes, secure your loved ones, secure your future. This is an emergency broadcast from the United States government. The information that follows is critical. Please listen carefully. We are continuing to monitor the spread of the Crimson Rot virus. While every effort is being made to develop a vaccine, at this time, there is no known cure. Your cooperation and responsible action are vital to protect yourselves, your loved ones, and the stability of our nation. We understand that this situation is causing concern, and we are providing clear protocols for anyone experiencing what may be early symptoms of the Crimson Rot virus. If you believe you may be infected, please do not hesitate. Immediate action is crucial. The earliest symptoms can be subtle and may include, but are not limited to, fever, unusual sensitivity to light, discolorization of the skin, and a disorienting feeling of fatigue. If you are experiencing these or any other unexplained and concerning symptoms, you must access the official government Crimson Rot information website. On this website, you will find a secure portal to discreetly notify specialized personnel who are trained in the process of safely managing those infected with the Crimson Rot. Once contact has been initiated, you will be transported promptly and privately to a state testing center. There, you will be given a precise analysis to determine if you are carrying the virus. Should you test positive, you will be provided with a compassionate and dignified process of voluntary euthanasia. This process has been created with great care and respect for human dignity. We understand this is a deeply challenging step. However, we urge you to listen carefully. The state will cover all expenses of your cremation. Your remains will be processed using the safest protocols to ensure that there is no further transmission of the virus. This will be done at no cost to you or your family. Allow us to impress upon you the importance of self-sacrifice. Choosing to voluntarily present yourself for testing is an act of profound bravery. The Crimson Rot virus progresses rapidly and with concerning results. As the virus develops, infected individuals become extremely aggressive. They display unpredictable behavior and an instinctive urge to transmit the virus to uninfected people. This means that the longer the virus progresses, the more you will become a threat to your family, your friends, and the wider community. Do not allow yourself to become that danger. The longer you wait, the less capable you will become of making the necessary, and indeed, the right decision. To present yourself for testing and possible euthanasia, this decision, when made by your own volition, is a courageous act of selflessness. By taking this step, you are directly protecting those who you care for and the broader society. Let us be clear, choosing this course of action is not surrendering. It is not quitting. It is a sacrifice of the highest magnitude. It is choosing the well-being of all over the well-being of self, which ultimately is an act of profound love and patriotism. On behalf of the United States government, we extend our deepest gratitude for your understanding and willingness to consider this option. This is an emergency broadcast system alert. This is not a test. This message is being disseminated nationwide. Please remain calm and listen carefully to the following directives. The situation across the nation is complex and rapidly evolving. We understand that many of you are witnessing scenes of profound distress and societal disruption. We acknowledge the pervasive anxiety and uncertainty created by the Crimson Rot virus. We are aware of the images you may have seen, the visible manifestations of the infection, the resulting panic, the altered behaviors in some individuals. and the chaos that has, in certain areas, overtaken our streets. These are indeed alarming sights, and it is natural to feel fear and concern. However, it is critical that you maintain your composure. The government, under the sustained guidance of the National Pandemic Response Task Force, is actively and decisively combating this unprecedented threat. We have implemented multiple strategies and protocols that are yielding significant progress. Though you may not see the full effect of these measures at this time, understand that this is a multi-layered, national-scale emergency, and its resolution demands a steadfast, methodical, and coordinated approach. We wish to address some current concerns and misconceptions circulating within the public. The Crimson Rot virus is unlike any pathogen we've faced before. Its rapid rate of transmission and its unique effects present serious challenges. We understand that there may be rumors regarding the nature of the infection and the actions being taken. Please be assured that all government efforts and scientific research are focused on mitigation and eradication. We are winning this battle. Our coordinated efforts are focused on the following key areas: containment and isolation. We have established secure zones throughout the nation for the treatment and quarantine of infected individuals. These zones are staffed by medical professionals with specialized training and protocols. We understand that these facilities may appear overwhelming, but their purpose is not punitive. They exist solely to provide medical care, prevent further spread of the virus, and isolate those who present a danger to the population. Ongoing research and development. Our leading scientists are working day and night to understand the Crimson Rot's mechanism of action. We are engaged in the rapid development of therapeutic interventions and potential vaccines. These research projects are showing promising results, and we expect further advancements in the near future. The research is complex and time-consuming, but progress is being made at an unprecedented rate. Resource allocation and logistics. The government is deploying substantial resources to ensure the continued functioning of critical sectors. We are prioritizing the supplies of food, water, medication, and necessary equipment to affected areas. Our national infrastructure, while under immense pressure, remains largely operational. Distribution of resources is being continuously monitored and optimized to meet the evolving needs of the nation. Law enforcement and public security. While the behavior of some infected individuals is a concern, the vast majority of our citizens are behaving responsibly and appropriately in this crisis. Law enforcement agencies have been granted the necessary authority to maintain public order, enforce curfews, and ensure the efficacy of quarantine measures. These actions are not intended to subjugate the population, but to protect it. We urge cooperation and compliance with the guidance of law enforcement personnel. Public information and education. Constant vigilance to the news is essential. We are committed to providing regular and accurate updates on the state of the pandemic to ensure the public is well informed of all new developments. We understand that the absence of information breeds confusion and rumor, and we are making every effort to counter misinformation. Please rely on official government channels for your information and disregard any unsubstantiated claims or speculative reports. We acknowledge that the current situation may seem overwhelming and that the images you may have seen might contradict the notion of progress. However, it is essential to view the situation with the perspective of the whole. We are implementing a strategy with multiple phases. This is an incredibly complex and fluid situation, but the measures being taken are strategically designed to reduce the risks and eliminate the Crimson Rot virus from our nation. We ask for your continued patience, your cooperation, and your unwavering trust in the leadership that is working tirelessly to overcome this unprecedented challenge. Do not let fear drive your actions. Continue safe health practices, follow all official guidelines, and act in a calm and reasoned manner. Thank you for your attention. This is an emergency alert system broadcast. Please remain calm and pay close attention. The following information is vital for your safety and the safety of those around you. This message pertains to aggressive individuals exhibiting symptoms associated with the Crimson Rot virus, recognizing the threat. Individuals infected with the Crimson Rot virus may exhibit a range of symptoms, including but not limited to severe skin discoloration, often described as deep crimson or purple, heightened aggression, including violent outbursts, and a clear disregard for personal safety or the safety of others. Extreme physical strength, often exceeding their normal capabilities, and a loss of higher cognitive function, characterized by incoherent speech or an inability to respond to rational commands. This behavior is not typical and represents a severe and immediate threat. Situations of contact. If you encounter an individual displaying these signs and exhibiting aggressive behavior, your primary objective is to protect yourself and others. Maintain a safe distance. Do not attempt to reason with or calm the infected individual. Their mental state is severely compromised. Response protocol. Avoid direct confrontation where possible. First, retreat. Your primary objective is to create space between yourself and the infected individual. Seek shelter in a secure location, ensuring that doors and windows are locked. If you are outdoors, seek shelter in a building or vehicle. Response protocol. If direct confrontation is unavoidable, if retreat is impossible and the infected individual poses an immediate, life-threatening danger, lethal force may be a necessary option. However, it is crucial to understand that any blood spillage from the infected individual poses an extreme risk of further viral spread. You must prioritize methods of neutralization that minimize or eliminate blood dispersal. Permitted response methods. Blunt force trauma, minimized blood spillage. When possible, utilize objects that will render the infected individual incapacitated without puncturing the skin. This includes heavy-duty bats, crowbars, or improvised blunt instruments. Focus on targeting limbs, joints, or areas of the body that are not typically associated with excessive blood flow. Your goal is to disarm and incapacitate, not puncture. Avoid direct blows to the head, which are more likely to cause trauma with blood release. Immobilization techniques. Minimize blood spillage. If you have training and experience restraining and immobilizing the infected individual with strong restraints or binding techniques might be possible if it can be done without causing puncture wounds. These techniques are extremely risky and should only be attempted if you have the necessary skill and resources, and if you have no alternative. Fire. Extreme caution. In extreme circumstances with no alternative, and where safe to do so, small controlled incendiary devices may be employed. However, this should only be used if the risk of environmental fire spread is minimal and all other options have been exhausted, and where the affected individual is not close to others who risk being injured by fire. Use extreme caution, as fire may exacerbate viral spread through burning organic material. Any use of fire must be monitored and extinguished promptly. Projectile weapons. Extreme caution, limited use. Projectile weapons, including firearms or crossbows, are generally not recommended as they cause severe blood loss. If there is no alternative, use them with extreme caution and with the intention of rendering the infected person unconscious, not killing them with shots that cause blood to spray. Target limbs or non-essential areas with the smallest projectile needed to incapacitate the threat. Remember that each shot risks creating an area of viral contamination. Any action designed to directly cut, puncture, or lacerate the infected individual is not permitted under any circumstances short of unavoidable self-defense. This includes knives, swords, or any bladed weapons that risk creating a blood spray. Direct physical contact, avoid grabbing, grappling, or wrestling with the infected individual. Direct contact increases your risk of infection and should be avoided at all costs. Use of chemicals beyond fire. Use only fire if all other options are unavailable. No chemicals are authorized for use because the effects and the spread of contamination risk are not known. Do not try to move the individual yourself. If the individual has been incapacitated, wait for authorities. Do not attempt to move, touch, or handle them. Post-contact protocol. After any interaction with an infected individual, immediately decontaminate yourself. This includes thoroughly washing any exposed skin with soap and water, if water is available. If soap is not available, use whatever means available to decontaminate, but note the lack of efficacy of non-soap methods. If you have come into contact with blood from an infected individual, even if you have not been bitten or scratched, isolate yourself immediately away from all others and await instruction from local authorities. Final reminder, this information is provided to protect lives. Your primary responsibility is your own safety and the safety of others. Minimize risk, avoid direct contact, and prioritize methods of neutralization that do not cause blood spillage. Stay informed by monitoring emergency broadcasts for the latest updates. This is a nationwide emergency broadcast. The Crimson Rot pandemic continues to pose a grave threat to our communities and our nation. Staying vigilant and proactive is paramount for the safety of yourselves, your loved ones, and the world. We are now at a critical juncture where early detection of the Crimson Rot is our strongest defense. We repeat, early detection is our strongest defense. The initial stages of the virus can manifest subtly. It is essential to monitor other family members for any indications of the Crimson Rot virus. Be aware of any unusual changes in behavior. Look for signs of heightened irritability, increasing agitation, and sudden outbursts of anger. Note any changes in their sleep patterns, including insomnia or excessive exhaustion. While these symptoms may be initially dismissed as stress, they can be indicators of a person being infected by Crimson Rot. As the virus progresses, these individuals will inevitably become a severe threat to your safety. Their behavior will dramatically shift, becoming aggressive and unpredictable. They will be driven by an instinct to infect others, putting you, your family, and your community at extreme risk. The sooner those infected are identified and isolated, the safer we all are. This, we want to be clear, is a matter of survival. Therefore, if you suspect that a family member may be exhibiting symptoms or behaviors that align with the progression of Crimson Rot, you are urged to report them immediately. You can do so through a completely confidential and anonymous channel. You can report your suspicions without the individual or the family even being aware they are being reported by texting the word carrier to 1-800-666-9113. This service is accessible through standard SMS, WhatsApp, and other alternative messaging services. To ensure the efficient response of specialized personnel, please ensure that the location services on your mobile device are turned on when you send the message. This is crucial for pinpointing your location and facilitating a quick dispatch. Once your report is received, specialized personnel will be sent to your location as swiftly as possible. The person suspected of infection will be taken into a state testing facility. There, the mandated health procedures will be enacted to determine the individual's infection status. These protocols are in place to protect us all. It is a shared responsibility. We urge every citizen to do the right thing. Report individuals you suspect of having the crimson rot. This is not an act of betrayal, but an act of necessity, an act of duty. You are acting in the best interests of your safety, the safety of your family, the safety of your community, and for the well-being of the world at large. The future of our nation, and indeed the world, depends on our collective vigilance and swift action. Thank you. This is an emergency broadcast system activation. This broadcast is being disseminated on all available channels. This message is critical. This is a continuing announcement regarding the ongoing Crimson Rot pandemic. We understand the fear and confusion that this situation is causing. However, it is imperative that you listen carefully and follow the instructions provided. Your safety and the safety of the entire nation depends on it. We are seeing widespread attempts to flee towns and cities across the country. Individuals and families are leaving their homes, believing this to be the safest course of action. This is incorrect. This is a serious miscalculation, and it is putting you and others at extreme risk. Let us be unequivocally clear. You must remain indoors. You must stay in your homes. This is the safest option, and it is the law. A nationwide stay-at-home mandate is in effect. This mandate is not optional. It is a legal requirement imposed to contain the Crimson Rot virus and protect the remaining population. By leaving your home, for any reason deemed non-essential by the governing protocols, you are in direct violation of this order, a violation that will not be treated lightly. We understand that the temptation to flee is strong, that the fear is overwhelming. However, current circumstances indicate that leaving your homes is actively exacerbating the problem and putting you directly in harm's way. Reports are flooding and documenting the horrific consequences of mass exodus. Major roadways and highways are now gridlocked. Vehicles are at a standstill, creating massive, immobile targets. This standstill is not an escape. It is a death trap. We have numerous, credible reports detailing how stationary vehicles have been swarmed by infected individuals and groups. Occupants within these vehicles, unable to maneuver or escape, have been tragically killed. We repeat, these roadways are not a path to safety. They are the new front lines of the conflict. We cannot emphasize enough the severity of this situation. Do not believe that you can outrun this. Do not believe you can simply drive away from this disaster. You are doing the opposite of what you think you are achieving. Furthermore, to maintain order and enforce the mandate, extensive military checkpoints are now established on all major routes leading out of urban areas. These checkpoints are staffed by personnel who have been ordered to stop all non-essential travel. If you are found to be in violation of the stay-at-home mandate, you will be detained. Your vehicle will be impounded or destroyed. You will face legal consequences. The military personnel are not there to guide you to safety. They are there to enforce the mandate and to stop the spread. The priority of the authorities is the containment of the Crimson Rot virus. The aim is to mitigate the spread to a manageable level. This requires adherence to the strict guidelines provided. We must all act responsibly. We must all make the conscious effort to remain in our homes, to isolate where possible, to stop the virus from spreading further. We know that this situation is unprecedented. We understand your fears, but panic and chaotic, ill-conceived escape attempts will only lead to more deaths and further spread of the infection. Remain indoors. Conserve resources. Listen to official broadcasts for further instructions. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt to leave your home unless specifically directed to do so by authorized personnel on trusted channels. This is not a request, this is an imperative. Compliance is mandatory. Our survival depends on it. Thank you for your attention. This is an emergency alert system broadcast. The situation is critical. The Crimson Rot pandemic has entered a new and extremely dangerous phase. All citizens are advised to immediately seek shelter and remain indoors. Repeat, all citizens must remain indoors immediately. Recent data confirms a significant and alarming mutation in the Crimson Rot virus. Individuals infected with the Crimson Rot, classified as infected, now exhibit a drastically heightened sense of smell. This is not a minor change. The infected can now detect the scent of uninfected individuals at greatly increased ranges. This ability is actively being used to locate and target those not yet infected. The infected are drawn to your scent. They will seek you out. They will attempt to spread the virus. This is no longer a matter of simple exposure. The infected are hunting. They are actively pursuing uninfected individuals through scent alone. Movement outside your domicile at this time is a severe risk to your safety and the safety of those you care about. Under no circumstances should you attempt to venture out. You must take immediate and decisive action to protect yourself. The primary directive at present is to mask your scent, to become as indistinguishable from the surrounding environment as possible. This is your first and most crucial defense against the infected. The following are specific, actionable steps you must take immediately. First, identify all possible points of scent egress from your location. This includes, but is not limited to, the gaps under exterior doors, ventilation shafts, windows, and any potential openings in the structure. Second, utilize available materials to block these scent pathways. Immediately deploy towels, blankets, clothing, or any cloth-based material to seal the gap under all exterior doors. Ensure the material is thick and adequately covers the entire length of the door. Do not leave any gaps. Even the smallest opening can allow your scent to escape and attract the infected. Third, similarly attend to all windows. Close them securely. Then, if possible, use tape or additional fabric to seal the window frames. These actions are vital to impede the dispersal of your scent. Fourth, be aware of clothing. Clothing worn outside, particularly within the last 24 hours, carries an amplified scent signature. If possible, change into freshly cleaned clothes even if they smell clean. If you have not changed into fresh clothes in the last 24 hours, put soiled clothes into sealed bags or containers. This is crucial in further minimizing your scent output. Fifth, if possible, introduce scents that can help to mask your presence. This is not to say that you must become pungent, but something with a reasonable smell can help. Strong-smelling spices such as cinnamon, cloves, or garlic can help to create a sort of scent camouflage. Use them conservatively inside the house. Don't overwhelm the building, but a little goes a long way to help confuse olfactory senses. Sixth, restrict movement within the domicile. As movement will spread your scent, limit activity to only necessary actions such as securing the shelter. The less you move, the less your scent will spread. Seventh, remain vigilant. Continue to monitor for changes in the environment. Listen for unusual noises. Be aware of any strange smells. The infected might attempt to break through your defenses or have picked up your scent and will be drawn to you. If this happens, report it to an emergency service and be prepared to use any means of self-defense possible. This crisis is not to be underestimated. The infected are now actively seeking you out through scent. Your safety depends on your ability to react quickly and efficiently. Do not underestimate the severity of the situation. The scent you emit can and will attract them. Your scent is a beacon. Mask it, protect yourself, stay indoors. This is an emergency. Remain vigilant. The emergency broadcast system will provide updates as more information becomes available. We thank you for your attention. Emergency Broadcast System Activation. This is a level red Crimson Rot pandemic alert. All citizens are ordered to comply with the following instructions immediately. Failure to do so will drastically increase your risk of infection and death. The Crimson Rot pandemic has reached a critical stage. The infected, previously known to exhibit a heightened sense of smell, are now demonstrating a significantly amplified auditory response. This means that, in addition to detecting the scent of the uninfected, they are now actively drawn to the sounds of movement. We repeat. The infected are attracted to noise. Movement, even minor movement, is the primary trigger. The sound of your footsteps, the rustle of clothing, the shifting of furniture, any of these can alert them to your presence. Once they have identified your location through sound, they will attempt to gain access to your residence with the sole objective of attacking you and spreading the virus. We understand the urge to communicate, to seek information, to simply move around your living space. But at this moment, absolute silence is your most powerful weapon. Therefore, you must restrict your movement within your homes to an absolute minimum. If you must move, do so as slowly and as quietly as possible. Avoid unnecessary actions. Minimize physical contact with your environment. Further, the transmission of sound by the human voice is significantly greater than most other forms of noise, so you must also restrict your use of vocal communication. If you must speak, whisper, keeping your volume as low as physically possible. Normal conversational speech is extremely dangerous at this point. You may be wondering if listening to this broadcast will make you a target. The answer is no. Technological sounds, specifically those relating to communication and broadcasting, do not attract the infected. These frequencies are filtered and do not trigger their heightened auditory sensitivity. It is the bioacoustic signature of movement, of human activity, that sets off their hunt. Remember the previously issued guidelines regarding masking your scent. These measures, in conjunction with maintaining absolute silence, are your best chance of survival at this phase of the pandemic. We will continue to monitor the situation and provide updates as necessary. We strongly encourage you to conserve your vital resources and remain vigilant. Prioritize silence above all else. It is your life that depends on it. Attention all citizens. This is an emergency alert regarding the Crimson Rot pandemic. Please listen carefully as this message could save your life. The situation outside remains extremely dangerous. The infected are roaming the streets in search of uninfected individuals. Groups of infected are attacking anyone they find outdoors. It is now the law to remain indoors at all times. By leaving your home, you are not only putting yourself in grave danger, but you are also violating mandatory quarantine regulations. Military personnel have been ordered to shoot on sight any individual displaying symptoms of the Crimson Rot. These symptoms include, but are not limited to, red-tinged skin, excessive bleeding, uncontrolled spasms, and aggressive behavior. You could be mistakenly identified as infected and killed. Therefore, it is crucial that you stay inside your homes. To help you understand the severity of the situation, we will provide details on the gruesome nature of the attacks by the infected. These details are being shared to deter any thoughts of leaving your home and to emphasize the importance of following the law and staying safe. Number 1, the act of biting. The infected will bite their victims with a ferocity that can cause deep, penetrating wounds. These bites are often accompanied by the spread of the virus through their saliva, which can infect the wound almost instantly. The tissue around the bite may begin to necrotize, leading to severe pain, swelling, and the risk of gangrene. Even if the virus does not take hold, the wound itself can be fatal if left untreated. Number 2, the act of scratching. The infected will use their nails and fingers to tear at the flesh of their victims. These wounds can be deep and can cause significant blood loss. The wounds from these attacks are prone to infection, and the virus can enter the bloodstream through the open cuts. The healing process is often excruciating, and the risk of complications is high. Number 3, the act of spitting. The infected may spit at their victims, and this fluid is highly contagious. If the saliva enters your mouth, nose, or eyes, the virus can take hold very quickly. In some cases, the saliva can cause severe burns and irritations on the skin, leading to further complications and potential infection. Number 4, aggressive contact. The infected are driven by a primal urge to spread the disease. They will attack with their bare hands, using any means necessary to break the skin or mucous membranes of their victims. Any contact with the infected, even if it does not involve a bite or scratch, can result in the transmission of the virus. We understand that these details are disturbing, but it is essential that you comprehend the reality of the situation. The government is working tirelessly to find a cure and to contain the outbreak, but your cooperation is vital. Stay at home where it is safe. Do not venture outside under any circumstances. Lock your doors and windows and ensure that all potential entry points are secured. If you hear any disturbances outside, do not investigate. Contact emergency services immediately. Remember, the infected are not in control of their actions. They are not your friends, neighbors, or family members. They are a threat to your survival. By staying indoors, you are not only protecting yourself, but also helping to prevent the spread of the crimson rot. If you have any symptoms, seek medical attention immediately. Stay informed by tuning into official channels for updates and instructions. The government and military are here to protect you. Follow the law and stay safe. End of broadcast.